This summer, the Minnesota Twins invited local civil rights and NAACP leaders, including Nick, to a pregame tribute on the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Nick was flattered, but he dreaded the pregame traffic. So he suggested to his wife something that had seemed unimaginable a couple of years ago. Honey, why don't we take the train?
You know, that was unimaginable. I had just deep-rooted resentment, and part of my reasoning and had been blind because of my experience, like other folks experience. But that day, as we got on the light rail and we went over to the stadium, and dropped us at the front door and stayed there for the game. We came back out and we got back on it. And as we were riding, I was reflecting and thinking about this struggle that we had been involved in being so opposed to this project because we felt we didn't have any ownership in it. It was something that was just placed on us, and we had to make the necessary adjustments around it. I thought back to the conversation and email I sent my longtime friend here, Nancy, saying, what is the city doing for us during this project, and what are we going to get out of it? And she sent me, she's a very patient young lady. She sent me this long list of things that the city was going to do, the Met Council was going to do, and so forth that would benefit our community. One of them she talked about, there would be people that looked like us working on the light rail system. And, when I reflected back and remembered seeing some familiar faces working there and then seeing some of the numbers, I think it was over 30%, that was encouraging. We were concerned that the University of Minnesota and NPR got large sums of mitigation funds, and we were concerned about the businesses being left out of that. Eventually, some of the businesses got some mitigation funds. We were concerned about gentrification, folks being taxed out of the neighborhood, the traffic and so forth, and many of the things that she promised, along with these other folks, that would be addressed as I'm riding along the rail and looking at all these new developments and so forth. It sort of changed my feelings towards this project. On the stop on Victoria and University, we have many of the heroes and sheroes of old Rondo. And I was asked to have my picture be part of that, and I declined to do that because that's how deep my resentment was for this project. But that train ride really opened my mind, my heart, to be a little more receptive and understanding about the possibility of this community. If anything good come out of it, number one, our community will remain intact. There won't be it won't be gentrified. Folks won't be taxed out of there. Rent would be kept affordable, even though some folks think that as wages go up, rents can go up. We don't have that problem yet. And I just hope and pray that at the end of the day that our community will have a strong sense of ownership in this project and appreciate the hard work that was done in putting this project together, and hopefully reflect on the fact that the experience of Rondo should never be forgotten, should never go away, and any future projects such as this or any other government action, that people will reflect on that. One of the things that we felt was important during our conversations with the Federal Transportation Administration and other folks during phone conferences and meetings, we kept Rondo in front of everything. That was the driving force in making sure that future generations would look back and understand that the NAACP, Preserve and Benefit Historic Rondo, and other organizations stood tall and would not allow government action to steamroll them, unlike what happened, to I-94. So I'm I'm looking forward to another ride on the train, and hopefully my next experience would be as great as my first.
Recently, I was talking to a researcher at MIT about the nature of transportation, and he said something that stuck with me as I explored and eventually rode the light rail. He said, remember, transportation isn't simply how you get from point A to point B. It's how we relate to one another. It's the thing that ties life together, the little moments and the big ones. The Green Line is making connections that are multiplying every week between a Dairy Queen owner and his fellow entrepreneurs, between young African-American men who are starting over with a coffee business and their customers, between 13 neighborhoods, between 6 arts districts, between more than a dozen foundations, and between 2 cities. The hope, and that's all we have in these early days, is that these little things add up to something big and something meaningful. 11 miles of transformation. Thank you.